if we could just push in on the podium right there, you can see that the sign has actually fallen off of the podium. This is where the former president was surrounded by Secret Service agents as he was then rushed off of this stage after we heard these popping sounds. And I want our camera to just veer here to the left. You can already see here, you see law enforcement officials right now. They're putting up this caution tape around this area. This is very much an active scene at this moment. You see law enforcement officials, they are taking notes. We're starting to see the presence of law enforcement officials increase as this area has now started to be cleared. Of course, you can see the amount of chairs that have been tossed and turned over. It just shows you how chaotic these moments were. I cannot stress this enough. To hear those popping sounds and then all of a sudden to just see people just dive for cover, people yelling, get down, cover your head. We did not know necessarily what those were. There are photos of the former president covering his ear. He did, as I mentioned before, after he was surrounded by Secret Service agents, he did get up, he raised his fist in the air. It was a sign to his supporters that were gathering here that he was okay. His supporters then cheered. But I can tell you there were several minutes after this where the crowd just didn't necessarily know what to do as the former president was rushed off of the stage. They didn't know whether or not they should quickly leave, rush out of here, whether or not they were safe, whether or not they could stay in place. The rally obviously officially ended after that. And then that's when we started to see people stream out of this area. Many members gathering here today, visibly shaken by what occurred. We are now seeing a helicopter that appears to be landing closer to where we are here at this rally. Just tense and chaotic moments that played out here in a situation that is still developing and unfolding with, as we still await details more what happened. Whit.
Rachel Scott Forrest, thank you so much. I do want to ask you quickly before I let you go here. You've been to so many of these different Trump rallies over the years. Security is obviously incredibly tight. Tens of thousands of people go to these things. Can you just talk about
be turned away maybe because they brought something that they weren't allowed to have, or maybe they had to leave something with Secret Service. They could not enter the rally. So they are diligently checking every member that enters these Trump rallies. Clearly, we do not know exactly what happened here today. We are still learning details. And of course, we'll bring those to you as we an event with the former president, Whit.
Stand by for us. I do want to point out this photograph right here that we've been showing with former President Donald Trump pumping his fist. If you look closely, there does also appear to be some blood trickling down over his right ear. Again, we don't have confirmation on exactly what happened. We're waiting for more information from officials, but there is that photograph, and you see the former president's face right there as Secret Service escorted him off the stage, off the podium, into the back of a SUV, and then out of the area. And you see him, as the incident happened, reaching for his right ear. Let's bring in John Carl, our chief Washington correspondent, if we can get back to him. He's in Milwaukee.
The Republican Party, Michael Whatley, as this news happened of the shots ringing out, and he very quickly rushed off, took a phone call, very hurriedly rushed off the floor. Obviously, a shocking development.
All right, John, thank you. I do want to go back to Rachel Scott, still on the scene, but I understand they're escorting the rest of the media and everyone out of the area.
Do need to leave. We can only take what we can carry. Everything else sort of needs to be left behind. They're closing off this area that you're seeing. I'm gonna get off the air now and escort out, and I will get back on with you.
Safe. Again, this is that video. This is that moment. Former President Trump pumping his fist to the cheers of the crowd there in Butler, Pennsylvania. I do want to mention again, because this was all coming at an event in Pennsylvania that was supposed to come before the Republican National Convention. All eyes on the former president about his potential running mate. That decision was expected any day now. And we're hearing from some of these hopefuls. VP hopeful Senator J.D. Vance took to X calling for people to pray for Trump and everyone at the rally. He says, quote, "Everyone join me in praying for our President Trump and everyone there. I hope everyone is okay." We also heard from Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who is also on the short list to be a potential running mate. He tweeted, quote, "Praying for President Trump and all those attending the rally in Pennsylvania today." Let's go back to John Carl in Milwaukee. John, we're still getting some of these photographs coming in. Are you getting any more information about what actually happened?
Made with a bit of a scramble that he might do it, in fact, at that event in Pennsylvania. Look, we've now heard, you mentioned hearing from J.D. Vance, hearing from Marco Rubio. We've also heard from Doug Burgum. So we've officially heard from all three of the people who were just with Donald Trump, waiting to hear his final decision about which one of them will be his running mate, all going to X to say that they are praying, for former President Trump and for everybody at the rally, but not knowing what actually has happened, not knowing, what has actually happened besides what we saw there in that incredibly horrifying video, hearing shots fired and former President Trump being brought down by Secret Service agents.
All right, John, stand by for us. We are getting some reportable information here from our producer, Josh Margolin. He is saying that the Secret Service is assessing. They have not confirmed it was actual shots or any kind. Unclear where what appeared to be blood in that photograph is coming from. So if we show that photograph again, this was sort of the close-up of former President Trump as he was being escorted off the stage. There it is. Again, it appears to be blood, but we cannot say for sure exactly what happened, if that came from a shot fired, which we don't know, or if it came from when he was tackled to the ground. But we did see the former president reach for his right ear as the chaos unfolded at that event in Pennsylvania. Once again, this was supposed to come right before the announcement for his potential running mate pick. Many people were watching this event very closely to see what would happen. Would he give any hints? Would there be any teases about who he might choose to be his running mate as we head towards Election Day? Again, all of that stopped abruptly by this chaotic moment at this rally in Pennsylvania. Let's bring in John Santucci, our investigative reporter. And John, you have very close contacts with the Trump family. What reaction are you getting from them? What are they saying about what happened tonight?
Whit, it is absolute panic within Donald Trump's inner circle right now, frankly, Whit, because the lack of information. As you mentioned right there to our viewers, Donald Trump has spent much of the weekend talking to potential vice presidential picks. Much of his family is not with the former president right now. But I can tell you, from speaking to at least the president's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., they do not know what has happened at Pennsylvania, and they are trying to find information. And that image, Whit, I can tell you multiple sources are telling me it has caused a great deal of panic. Obviously, as you mentioned, ABC News does not know exactly what happened at the rally, but that image of what appears to be blood running down the president's face has caused significant alarm. And look, we should note, Whit, that, Donald Trump, for many years when he was campaigning, I know in 2016, from his first campaign for the White House, always took extra precautions, has talked so greatly about the Secret Service, feeling protected, having them around him. When he, of course, started his campaign before Secret Service protection, if we reported at the time, Donald Trump wore a bulletproof vest. He was very, very cautious about his safety. So I think just the fact right now that there is this panic right now in Trump world because of that lack of information. I think as we are telling our viewers, we are trying to figure out in real time. It seems as though the president's inner circle, much of which, again, I should stress, is not with him in Pennsylvania. They are over in Milwaukee or making their way to the site of the convention, which, as you well know, beginning in less than 48 hours.
And John, also, as you know, and you've talked about over the years, Donald Trump thrives on these massive rallies. This is a hallmark of his campaigns, and it's been that way for years. The more the merrier. I mean, he'll pack tens of thousands of people into a venue, and I've been to them before. You've been to many of them. Security is extremely tight. It is hard to imagine, something like this playing out at an event like that. Talk about some of the security precautions that you're aware of at events like this one.
I went to every rally Donald Trump held in 2015 and 2016. I know Rachel is on the ground right now for ABC at this event, but I can tell you from any one of these rallies, Secret Service is intense. Everybody is going through a magnetometer. Think about when you go to the airport. Anybody that has a bag, your bag is inspected. If you have any liquids, they sometimes would make you pour them out, almost like boarding an airplane. That's what everybody at home should be thinking about right now with these rallies. It is so secure. And we must remember, too, Whit, Donald Trump is unique in the sense that he has had Secret Service protection since the late 2015, early 2016, even before he became the Republican nominee in that contest. Now, here in this situation, he has protection for two reasons. One, being the presumptive Republican nominee, but obviously as a former president, he has those protections too with. So everything that you can imagine for the Secret Service right now is, one, evaluating how this could have happened, but also, let's be clear, we've been talking about how close we are to the election, but there is still such a significant amount of time to go. And you have to imagine now, both for campaigns led by Donald Trump and for President Joe Biden's campaign, look, these are events that both men have to be doing consistently for the next several weeks and months leading up to November. You have to imagine, as tight as security is at these events already, this is going to cause a massive reevaluation with.
All right, John Santucci for us. Thank you so much. I do want to go back to Rachel Scott, because Rachel was inside the venue. She was reporting for us right here on World News Tonight. Then we got the report.
Much more about that conversation between the president and his rival, the former president. Just the fact that they spoke, though, is really remarkable when you consider, how rare it is. I mean, before the debate last month, it had been years since the two of them had talked. And even at the debate, they barely, I don't even think you could say, exchanged niceties. The president is now making
us and the former president's supporters, members of the press. They were there too, also diving for cover. Many of the former president's aides, when we heard those gunshots erupt and the panic that set in and the chaos that occurred just right after that. Here now, right behind me, is this active crime scene that you have here. And there were a number of people that were here. Their belongings are left inside. It was sort of this moment where you took what you could and you just sort of raced out. There were some people running out. There were some people that had to be pushed out by Secret Service. They were told to just take what you can, leave everything else. There were probably about a dozen people that were lined up here at these gates behind me asking law enforcement when they'll be able to get back in. They were just told that they would not have access to their personal belongings for some time, maybe a couple hours, maybe a day. There are several people here who actually have their keys to their cars. They can't drive home at this point. Obviously, this is an active crime scene that's occurring behind me here tonight. And so you have this American flag that's hanging over that crime scene, an attempted assassination of a former president, a Republican nominee in this race. It is an unprecedented twist to an already historic campaign with.
Rachel Scott, stand by. Just reminding.
Tell me what you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down.
Sounds. At first you think like maybe firecrackers, but it continued. And then somebody yelled, "Get down." We got down, and we huddled and we started praying. And we just started praying, and thank God, a little while later, we got up. When we saw other people get up, we saw Trump get up, raise his fist like I'm okay, and we kept praying.
I felt really bad. I'm worried about our grandchildren. What kind of life are they going to have if this goes on, if people don't have the right to say what they want?
You told me that you were near the very front. You weren't very far.
No, we were like from here to where that thing is.
And you got down. You said you got down immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody yelled, "Get down." My daughter-in-law, Lisa, she said for us to hurry up and get down.
Well, I mean, I saw all the Secret Service kind of cover Trump. They did a really good job about that, making sure he was protected, telling everyone to get down. So I think they did take a good care of making sure everyone was understanding what was going on and being serious but not freaking everybody out.
What was your initial reaction when you heard those popping noises?
To get down. Yeah, so I actually my boyfriend pushed me on the ground and went on top of me, which was really nice. But I think a lot of people were a little too shocked to understand what was going on originally, for sure. But I think everyone listened pretty well, and it was handled pretty well.
Did you see some of that commotion that was playing out on the other side of the bleacher where we saw law enforcement agents sort of swarm around another individual, or did you ultimately just rush out?
No, we were there for a minute because they did tell us to go back down again just in case. I think that was good because it helped calm people down. But I think one of the stands that I was next to, they did carry out a man, and there was another one that might have been injured. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely one at least. And on the other stand, on the other side, because I was on the right, on the left, there were like a bunch of like men in uniform, like surrounding someone. So that was interesting to see.
You said that you were very impressed by the speed in which Secret Service was able to get on that stage within seconds of all of us hearing those popping sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a great job. I definitely felt protected in the situation. The sniper was on it, watching on guard. Everyone on the scene like did a great job. I mean, like, of course it was like nerve-wracking in the moment, but I never felt like I was like in danger, which was cool. They were on the president, which I'm very thankful of, and they did a great job like protecting him and getting him out as quick as possible. He is doing good, which is good. Yeah.
I'm the Republican nominee for the Senate in Pennsylvania. I was in the front row, and President Trump had just announced me and said he was going to have me come up on the stage, and said, well, wait a minute. And then there were a number of shots, I think probably 7 or 8 shots. It wasn't clear whether they would come from one place or 2 places, at least I couldn't tell. And immediately there was a swarm of Secret Service officers that, got on top of and knocked down President Trump and got on top of him. And then he stood back up, and you sort of saw this fist come out, sort of defiant that it looked like he was okay, but you couldn't tell for sure. It looked like there was some blood, but it wasn't obvious. And then the entire crowd went to the ground because we weren't sure whether the shots were done. And then unfortunately, over my shoulder, someone had clearly been hit. I was on the ground, and up in the bleachers, probably 3 or 4 bleachers behind me, it looked like there was a man who was severely injured. There was a lot of blood, and his people around him were trying to administer first aid. And then the police, some police officers came in and carried him out, and presumably took him to get first aid. That's really all I could see. I don't know if there were other people injured, and I don't know if there was anybody apprehended, because as you might imagine, once that happened, the crowd was very chaotic, and it was very hard to know what was going on. And we're still there at the rally, just sitting trying to get out because the traffic is so backed up.
And Dave, your account seems to confirm some of this reporting that we're getting about a shooter and potential bystanders who were hurt. Just talk more.
Well, it takes a minute to process. People started to panic all around. You could feel, people were very scared, and so everybody just dropped to the ground. And it felt very obvious that the president was under assault, and very much at risk. And it wasn't clear that he was okay to begin with. And then, once it started to sink in, you're thinking, are there still shooters out there? Are they going to target other people? And, it's just like these, situations. I was in the military previously. You realize over time that the facts start to come together. So you got to be careful not to draw too many conclusions early on. But I think what we all felt was a sense of, oh my Lord, everybody's in danger, because there's clearly a shooter, at least one shooter in the crowd, and maybe more. And really, I think scary for everybody who was there, and shocking, even more than scary, just shocking, because you're in the middle of this rally.